measuring how bad and antisocial and autistic Facebook is, and specific ways to design more social, more powerful applications than Facebook. First of all, we all know informally that Facebook is simply emailing lists and file sharing. Basically, you upload photos of your dinner last night and bore all of your so-called friends with pictures of food. And then you get inane comments about what people buy. Presumably because they went public and they're going to try to monetize their network, we're going to get endlessly more pitches to buy crap because our friends bought it, and to the point which we either will want to kill our friends or want to stop them buying. Um, but, you know, long before the IPO stage, several years ago, I was hired to help a venture which I cannot name because of contractual reasons, by measuring how social Facebook was. And we did this by a true random sample of Facebook users, and how we got that is a little interesting. And we measured how social Facebook users were using two models. One of them is so-called social indexing model. And this turns out to be between 3 and 7% social indexing level is the level of ordinary daily life. We know and act on between 3 and 7% of the interests, needs, and capabilities of the people we are acquainted with or in regular contact with. High performance teams, however, know and use and act on over 22% on average of the interests, needs, and capabilities of the people they are acquainted with or interact with. So there's this enormous gap between 3 and 7% and 22% for high performance. And of course, every application in the world and every manager and every managerial arrangement should be trying to move us from the 3 to 7% range of actual groups all over the world in every industry to the 22% of high performance groups. That's the social indexing level. Now we can measure Facebook and how each part of Facebook increases or decreases or has no effect on the dimensions of social indexing. I've done that. It's pitiful. It's really pitiful. Number two, there's a thing called by Jean-Jacques Servan-Schreiber called social processes. These are functions that every society in the world has. A model of them was built in 1971. It was brought to East Asia 10 years later and modified for East Asian cultures. And that since 1970 and 1981, there's been a global model of social process, 64 social processes that every unit of every society enacts and has institutional ways of doing or hiding or avoiding. Of these functions, economic functions, political functions, cultural functions, and social change functions, there are 64 of them in the top level and 256 in the bottom level, and we can measure how many and how well Facebook or any other app does each of them. And we've done that, and it's really pitiful. So not only that, we know which of the 256 functions it did at all or a little, and so we can tell you what functions it omitted, and we can even estimate which ones, if you do them next, would make the biggest impact on the users. Now what we're working on this year, as I do this video, is measuring for users of general software applications of all sorts. The general Apple user, the general Microsoft user, the general ASUS user, the general NEC computer user, the general iPod user, etc. Measuring for them as general users what social functions they are frustrated with in their life and work that they want supports for. Facebook never did this. They use their own intuition about what people want and need. Most, as far as I know, every suppliers didn't do this. This is valuable stuff.